Hi everyone! Plugin Model v2 changes how plugins are built. It breaks them into modular pieces with clear responsibilities. In the classic plugin model, which we call v1, things are simple, but also somewhat limited. Generally, a v1 plugin is a single runtime unit with a dedicated class loader. A plugin can depend on another plugin using the depends element. Optional dependencies are supported as well, by setting the optional attribute. If such a dependency is available, an additional plugin descriptor is loaded. This descriptor is referenced in the depends element. In plugin model v2, content modules become first-class building blocks. A plugin is now split into content modules, each with its own descriptor, dependencies, and class loader. There are multiple benefits. First, explicit distinction between plugin dependency and a module dependency. Then, a better isolation allows reloading just an explicit module of any plugin. And finally, it is remote development ready. Split common, front-end, and backend cleanly. In v2, the meta-inf/plugin XML belongs to what's called a plugin descriptor module. Simply put, it declares the plugin ID, name, and a description along with vendor information. After that, its main role is to list the plugin's content modules. There are no dependencies, actions, extensions, or listeners over here. Those belong to the content module descriptors instead. The content element lists all content modules along with their names. Our common module is the required one, which is indicated in the loading attribute. If its dependencies are not satisfied, the plugin will not load and the IDE shows an error. Let's declare a common content module descriptor that enhances the Git functionality. This content module has a mandatory dependency on the Git for IDEA plugin. There are no depends elements inside the module descriptor. Instead, dependencies are declared using the dependency element. To depend on another plugin, use the plugin element that references another plugin by its plugin ID. All extensions, actions, and other components should be declared in this content module descriptor. Every content module is packaged as a jar file available in the plugin's lib/modules directory. The name of the jar file matches the name of the content module. Each module has also its own descriptor file named after the module with a .xml extension. This descriptor is placed in the root of the jar file and not in the meta-inf directory. Now that we have a working v2 common module, let's add functionality that should exist only when another capability exists in the IDE, and that is CSS support. In v2, optional features live in optional content modules. Let's add a second content module for CSS support from our plugin. If the IDE includes the JetBrains CSS plugin, this module loads. If not, it's skipped. First, update the plugin.xml. Add a second module entry and set its loading attribute to optional. Now we will define the CSS content module descriptor. This module has two mandatory dependencies: the JetBrains CSS plugin with the ID com.intellij.css and the common module so we can access its classes and resources. Notice the difference. Use plugin elements for plugin dependencies and module elements for dependencies or content modules. Again, both dependencies are non-optional. If the CSS plugin in the IDE is missing, the optional CSS module is skipped. The common module still loads, and the base plugin remains still functional. And finally, the packaging. In the lib/modules, there are two jars. One for the mandatory common content module, and one for the optional CSS content module. Each jar contains its content module descriptor at the root. The main plugin descriptor is in a separate jar under lib directory with plugin.xml in meta-inf directory. And that's it for today. See you next time, and remember to subscribe for more updates on the IntelliJ SDK.